Poverty is defined as a lack of opportunities or resources to meet one's needs, rather than a lack of money or food. The most common method for determining which countries are the poorest or wealthiest is to calculate GDP per capita. If a country's citizens spend a lot of money in a fiscal year, the country is considered wealthy and has a high standard of living. The poorest countries are generally those with the lowest spending. As one might expect, the poorest countries in the world are the least developed, and it is unfortunate that the majority of the world's poorest countries are found in Africa. To make matters worse, many of these countries have a ruling class that lives in luxury not seen in many of the wealthiest countries, with accountable leadership. Some of them do not even have the opportunity to eat 3 meals a day. This ranking is based on the gross domestic product, or GDP, purchasing power parity, or PPP, per capita of each of these countries. This way, we can tell the actual standard of living of people in most of these countries. Let's take a look at the top 10 poorest countries in the world by 2022. Top 10. Madagascar. Madagascar is only 400 kilometers off the coast of East Africa and has a current GDP of $1,558. Madagascar is the world's 4th largest island. The country is well known for its incredible wildlife and thriving tourism economy. This, however, has not been sufficient to raise the country out of poverty. The bulk of the country's people continues to rely on agriculture for a living, although this agriculture is primarily small-scale and vulnerable to weather and climatic shocks. This is easily addressed by subsidizing agricultural inputs and increasing foreign trade. Security challenges hamper food security. Madagascar has suffered periods of political instability, violent coups, and disputed elections, all of which have slowed progress. Top 9. South Sudan. The country earned independence following a long and violent war with Sudan, which was Africa's longest-running civil war. South Sudan's economy is buoyed by the quantity of oil as well as agriculture, with a current GDP per capita of $1,715. South Sudan has yet to recover from the neglect and destruction of infrastructure that occurred during the 20-year conflict that resulted in the deaths of over 2.5 million people. There is still a shortage of reliable data, particularly census figures, with which to generate data, and there is a large dependence on estimates. It is hoped that as more foreign direct investments enter the country, the economy would improve and the country will prosper. Top 8. Liberia. Liberia, Africa's oldest country. It is located in Western Africa and has a large portion of its coastline that immediately meets the Atlantic Ocean. For a long time, Liberia has been listed among the poorest countries. While the country has enjoyed peace and stability since the end of the Civil War in 2003, successive governments have been unable to overcome fundamental issues that have hampered the country's development. To compound matters, this country of only 4.7 million people was badly hit by the Ebola virus that swept over West Africa in 2014. The country has also failed to recover from commodity price falls. With a current GDP of $1,428, Liberia appears to be on the right track for prosperity and stability. Although the country produces agricultural products, industry, and service delivery account for 13.8% and 52.2% of economic activity, respectively. Top 7. Mozambique. Mozambique, located on Africa's southeast coast, offers an abundance of fertile land and water, as well as abundant energy and mineral resources. Nonetheless, it remains one of the world's top 10 poorest countries, with huge segments of the population living considerably below the poverty line. This is the result of a 15-year civil war that concluded in 1992. Mozambique has also seen extreme weather, corruption, and political instability. However, things are changing. A recently discovered natural gas offshore field is expected to add $40 billion to the country's GDP by 2035. Over the last decade, the country has had average GDP growth rates of more than 5%. The former Portuguese colony has a GDP per capita of $1,372, which is more than triple the expected value of $502 for 2019. There are high aspirations for the economy to grow further as a result of the abundant natural gas supplies that have just been discovered. Top 6. Malawi. Malawi is one of Africa's smallest countries, located in Eastern Africa and surrounded by Zambia, Tanzania, and Mozambique. The country currently has a GDP per capita of $1,292, which is expected to rise to $1,580 by 2024. This demonstrates that the country is on the path to economic stability in the foreseeable future. Nonetheless, poverty is widespread, and agriculture on a modest scale drives the nation's economy. This is highly vulnerable to weather-related shocks. We must remember that this is a landlocked country with agriculture as its primary economic sector. The country may improve even more if more effective agricultural practices are implemented. A significant step should be taken toward enhancing food security, subsidizing agricultural inputs, and improving tourism and hospitality. Top 5. Niger. The Niger Republic is a fully landlocked country in West Africa. Libya, Nigeria, and Chad border the country. The country is the largest in West Africa, with around 1.3 million square kilometers of land. There is an abundance of arable land, as well as natural resources, the most important of which is uranium inside its borders. For the country to create further economic progress, security must be improved, and agriculture must be conducted more efficiently. Niger controls 80% of this landlocked area, which is encompassed by the Sahara Desert, with a current GDP per capita of $1,152. Nonetheless, its fast-rising population is still heavily reliant on small-scale agriculture. Land degradation and climate change pose serious threats to Niger. There is also a high level of insecurity as a result of the presence of the terrorist group Boko Haram. Furthermore, given one of the key drivers of their economy is the extraction of natural resources such as gold and uranium, the country has been hit by a reduction in global commodity prices. Top 4. Eritrea. Eritrea is a young country located at the Horn of Africa. It gained independence from Ethiopia following a terrible war, and it has borders with Sudan and Djibouti. Because the country has a long and vast coastline into the Red Sea, international trade is an appealing potential. The country offers gorgeous scenery and abundant animals, which could one day turn it into a major tourism and hospitality powerhouse. This country, located in the Horn of Africa, gained independence in 1991. This country's economy is increasing at an 8.7% annual rate, yet its GDP per capita is only $1,103. Top 3. Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, usually known as Congo DRC, is a Central African country. According to available data, the country is the third poorest in the world, with a GDP per capita of $876. Despite achieving independence from Belgium in 1960, the Congo has endured decades of dictatorship, political instability, and continuous violence. Those situations would ultimately lead to poverty. The country has a lot of natural resources, but instead of developing them, it has spent a lot of time fighting. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has the potential to become a powerhouse of agriculture and one of the richest African states, with 80 million hectares of arable land and over 1,000 minerals and valuable metals beneath its surface. They have the potential to become a major generator of growth for the entire African continent. Top 2. Central African Republic. According to available data, the Central African Republic, located in the heart of Africa, is the world's second poorest country. The GDP per capita in the country is $864, a rise from the previous year's figure of $860. Chad, Sudan, South Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo are the country's only neighbors. The country has a population of around 4 million people and ample land for intensive farming. The Central African Republic is a tremendously affluent country, inhabited by very impoverished people, with huge amounts of gold, cobalt, crude oil, uranium, and diamonds. For the first time since its independence from France in 1960, the country has had a democratically elected president who campaigned as a mediator capable of bridging the divide between the Muslim minority and the Christian majority, putting an end to the country's recurrent violence. Currently, almost 75% of the population lives in poverty. Top 1. Burundi. Burundi, located in Central Africa, is the world's poorest country. According to current estimates, Rwanda, Tanzania, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo surround the country, which is entirely landlocked. The country's GDP per capita is $724, a decrease from $744 the previous year. African countries have traditionally suffered from poor leadership, and Burundi has been no exception since its independence from Belgium in 1962. The country has been in a long period of political instability, which has resulted in a recession. Furthermore, the Burundian government's July 2016 restriction on commerce with neighboring Rwanda, claiming food security concerns, has resulted in a dramatic increase in the price of key foods such as potatoes. There has also been a decrease in coffee production, which is the country's principal export. According to the most recent UNDP Burundi study, 82.1% of the country's population lives on less than $1.25 a day. This can be alleviated by subsidizing agricultural inputs, as agriculture employs 90% of the Burundian people. This country of about 12 million people is blessed with good fertile land within the Rift Valley, allowing for year-round agriculture. We should emphasize that the country recently had a humanitarian crisis as a result of political unrest, which forced over 100,000 people to flee their homes, thus destroying the economy. As we have established without any doubt, there is a strong correlation between war and poverty. Furthermore, several countries continue to face economic challenges even after civil conflicts have ended for up to 20 years. This is due to the fact that growing and developing the institutions that deliver wealth to a country and its people takes time and work. As you may have seen from the video, the majority of the countries on this list are African. Africa continues to face security issues of many shapes and sizes, which threaten to bind the continent in poverty for a very long time in the future, because even when these crises are resolved, the process of creating wealth and empowering the people will take time. That concludes our list of the top 10 poorest countries in the world in 2022. Please share your ideas and suggestions in the comments box below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss out on our new videos.